We often talk about how people like Donald Trump and maybe Elon Musk are able to traffic in all of these narratives or conspiracies that might even be contradictory to one another, but because they are repeated so frequently, people just start to believe them. One of the ones we've been hearing a lot about recently is all of this waste, fraud, and abuse that they are supposedly finding in our federal government. And then they are using this narrative as a pretext to go in there and shut down entire agencies, freeze federal spending that has already been appropriated by Congress, and now it looks like they're even starting to just fire federal workers. But what happens when these people are pressed for any evidence at all to show that you're actually finding this waste, fraud, and abuse? Well, Caroline Leavitt was recently asked about such evidence at a recent press conference, and her answer probably isn't going to surprise you, but we should definitely get into the habit of holding our elected officials accountable. If they are going to make a claim, they should be able to back up that claim with a bit of proof. So let's go ahead and take a look at what Caroline Leavitt had to say, and then we will discuss. And if you do appreciate the work I do, please do remember to subscribe.
As for the actual receipts, we are happy to provide them, and I actually brought some today because all of you know I love to bring the receipts. We have contracts upon contracts that we can send and provide this information to you. Let me be very clear. We are not trying to hide anything. We have been incredibly transparent, and we will continue to be. These are screenshots of contracts that DOJ found across our government. This is a DEI contract, $36,000 for U.S. citizenship and immigration services. That is against the president's policies and his America First agenda. This is a $3.4 million contract, a Council for Inclusive Innovation at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, Department of Commerce, another DEI contract that DOJ identified. I can continue to go through these. Oh, I love this one, $57,000 for climate change in Sri Lanka. What is this doing to continue the interests of the American people? Absolutely nothing.
Standing up there at the podium and reading off a list of all of these different contracts that maybe the president doesn't like does not qualify as evidence that you are finding all of this waste, fraud, and abuse. And if you are alleging such malfeasance, you should have evidence of that malfeasance. And we need to think about why it is that Elon Musk and Donald Trump would be lying about this stuff. Because if the American people knew that all of this waste, fraud, and abuse that they claim they found is not real, well, then they'd really probably have trouble justifying what they are doing to the American people. Because I don't think the American people are that interested in these people tearing down our federal government from the inside out if there isn't all of this waste, fraud, and abuse that these people are claiming to find. And even if this waste, fraud, and abuse was actually there, tearing it down in the manner in which they are is just absolutely stupid. It's not intelligent. It's not efficient. But they need to sell you a narrative. They need a sexy story to tell the American people so they can try to justify their illegal actions. And they are exactly that. They are illegal. They have multiple, almost I think a dozen injunctions against them right now in the courts because what they are doing is so blatantly unconstitutional. But we should definitely keep this in mind as they continue to tear down our government. Why are they repeating the waste, fraud, and abuse, waste, fraud, and abuse, waste, fraud, so often? Why are they doing that? It's because they know that if they can sell a sexy version of this story to the American people, then the American people are going to be less likely to push back. Because wanting an efficiently run government is a cause that most Americans can get behind. Probably all Americans. We don't want any waste or fraud or abuse in our government. But because they aren't finding that, they have to make up stories. And we should be calling them out on each one of these stories. I mean, Elon Musk was in the Oval Office the other day where a reporter actually did call him out on that whole $50 million of condoms to a terrorist organization. But was he able to provide any evidence for that claim at all?
Elon Musk made a series of claims. One of these was about US foreign aid, and in particular, condoms being sent to Gaza. This is what he said.
Mr. Musk, you said on X that an example of the fraud that you have cited was $50 million of condoms was sent to Gaza. But after fact check this, apparently Gaza in Mozambique, and the program was to protect them against HIV.
You know, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct any mistakes. You know, I'm not sure we should be sending $50 million worth of condoms to anywhere. If it went to Mozambique instead of Gaza, I'm like, okay, that's not as bad, but still, you know, why are we doing that?
So after that clip, Elon Musk took to X, his own platform, and doubled down, saying $50 million of condoms is a lot of condoms. But there's no evidence that condoms were sent in recent years to either Gaza in the Middle East or Gaza in Mozambique.
Yeah, not a shred of evidence. These people, because they have no shame, because they are willing to lie, they are able to just make up all of these stories that are very sensational, that are very rage baiting, to get people to buy into their narrative. Because of course, I mean, just think about what he's alleging here. He's saying that the United States government is sending $50 million worth of condoms to a terrorist organization. Of course, the American people would not get behind that. I don't even know a single Democrat or anybody on the left that would get behind that, because we don't want to be sending $50 million worth of anything to a terrorist organization. But Elon Musk has spun this story up because it is red meat for the base. It is something that they can glom onto to get rageful about. That way they can justify the absolute illegal activity that is currently taking place. They are tearing down the government from the inside, and they are making up all of these stories, these narratives, to get people to buy into what they are doing. And at the same time, they are also getting people to distrust in our institutions. And that distrust could last for decades from now. He is doing irreparable damage. He then goes on to make a claim about having 150-year-olds who are drawing Social Security. But can you guess whether or not he was able to provide any evidence for that claim?
And Musk made a series of other claims. One of these was about Social Security, which is a program in the US which covers about 67 million people who are retired or have a disability so they can't work, and they get a basic income as a result. This is what he said in particular about that program.
You know, there's crazy things like just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old.
Now, again, there's no evidence for the specific claim Musk is making there about people being 150 years old being on the rolls of Social Security. And we looked for such evidence and we haven't been able to find any yet. We're still looking and we'll report if we find any.
Again, not a shred of evidence. But because it sounds sexy, because it is rage baiting, because it's not a good idea for us to be paying 150-year-olds that are probably dead from Social Security, this is the story they roll out. This is the story they stick to. This is the story they toss as red meat to the American people. The American people are interested in having a government that is run efficiently. That is a shared goal, probably among 98, 99, even 100% of Americans? Of course, that is a noble goal. But why is it that you have to lie to me to try to get to that end goal? It's because these people do not have a shred of evidence to prove the claims that they are making. And because the American people probably would not be interested in them tearing down the government in the way that they are, these are the stories that they sell us. Now, you know, one could say that maybe, well, they just don't have the time to provide the evidence right now. But you would expect that now that they are getting shut down in the courts, they would at least be able to show the judges that they actually have some evidence of what they are claiming. But we are now learning that that's not even the case either. I mean, just check out this case. where I think this is the federal spending freeze that was shut down by a court. And this is what the judge said to rebuke them. The defendants now plea that they are just trying to root out fraud, but the freezes in effect now were a result of the broad categorical order, not a specific finding of possible fraud. The broad categorical and sweeping freeze of federal funds is, as the court found, likely unconstitutional and has caused and continues to cause irreparable harm to a vast portion of this country. So even when they are hauled in front of a judge where they are supposed to determine whether or not the Trump administration is doing something in a legal way based on the set of facts that is provided to them, they can't even make their claims true there. They're not even trying to provide evidence to the judge to show that they are finding all of this waste, fraud, and abuse. The court systems is where we figure this stuff out. If they had the evidence, this is surely where it would be provided. And even a Trump-appointed judge in a different case for I think it was for the USAID layoffs, even a Trump-appointed judge called the Trump administration out for the exact same thing. Listen to this judge. It says, when the court asked the government at the temporary restraining order hearing what harm would befall the government if it could not immediately place on administrative leave the more than 2,000 employees in question, it had no response. Beyond asserting without any record support that USAID writ large was possibly engaging in corruption and fraud. The court thus has no difficulty concluding that the balance of the hardships favors the plaintiffs. So even in front of a Trump-appointed judge, they weren't able to provide a shred of evidence for the claims that they were making. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, independent, non-voter. This should be unacceptable to each and every one of us. We should be holding our elected officials to a higher standard. If they are going to be making, catastrophic decisions like shutting down USAID, which is going to, cause deaths all around the world, they better have a damn good reason to do it. But this Trump administration is spinning up all of these stories, and when they are asked to provide any evidence as to what they are saying is true, they aren't even providing even a hint of evidence of all of this waste, fraud, and abuse. Like I said, I think this should be troubling to each and every American, and we should be holding these people accountable. And we have to be able to educate the American people as to what is going on here. This is a tried and true tactic from Trump's administration, from Trump himself. He finds a conspiracy that he likes. He finds a conspiracy that is rage baiting, that is red meat to the base. And even though it has no basis in fact, he repeats it, he repeats it, he repeats it. And all of a sudden, people start believing that this conspiracy is true. And Donald Trump has been able to get away with a ton of shit because this tactic, this method of lying to people has been so damn effective. So we should definitely call it out every single time we see it. We have to push back against this false reality that Donald Trump and his goons are creating for a huge swath of our society. We should try to be making decisions based on the facts that actually exist here on Earth. We have to deconstruct this web of lies that is the MAGA universe. So we will be here every step of the way calling this stuff out. We have to make people aware of these tactics. They are lying straight to your face to try to justify their very terrible and unconstitutional actions. Because if the American people knew that they have no evidence at all to prove what they are claiming, the American people would probably revolt against them. At least the vast majority of them probably would. So I will leave it there for now. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share it with a friend or two. I very much appreciate that. We have to build something here on the left that can adequately push back against the right-wing media ecosystem that spins up that web of lies. So if you do appreciate the work I do, please do remember to subscribe. If you want to see how Elon Musk's approval rating is falling off a cliff as he becomes the face of the Trump administration, please do watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.